back to the Innovative Agency, everybody. Sharon Toerek here with you again. And as I like to joke, every time lately I record an episode of the show, I can't get on the podcast without saying the letters A and I next to each other. And so, true to form, we're actually going to go there specifically, not even roundabout today. And um, to have a conversation with somebody who's rolled up their sleeves and is living and breathing this every day.
Sleeves are rolled up, Sharon.
Sleeves are rolled
Sleeves
up.
are rolled up.
Matt Sear, founder of Loop AI. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today to talk about this. You've been making the rounds. You've been talking with agency owners a lot at conferences, at online education events, and I wanted to talk with you today because I feel like the conversation has really bled outside the edges of what's helpful and what's practical when it comes to agencies actually using AI operationally or using it to create or whatever the use case might be for an independent agency right now with artificial intelligence. So I wanted you here to talk about the use cases you're actually seeing work successfully,
Yep.
and also to sort of share some hope with the agency leaders who are listening to this about where to look in the four corners of their business to see the opportunities and what to start with. What's the low-hanging fruit? What's
Yep.
more aspirational right now?
Yep.
So let's first start with just generally talking about the work that Loop does right now with
Sure.
agencies in the AI space.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thanks for having me. So our role right now really is twofold. The first is, and you alluded to it, is offering AI focused consulting for agencies of different sizes. Our market tends to be in the, what I would say is like slightly larger agency size, in the sort of 50 to 300 range, but we've also certainly supported, smaller and to some degree larger. The thing that's fascinating to me about the work that we're doing, though, is that regardless of size, the challenges are almost the same across these different agencies, right? I've talked to CEOs of seven-person agencies who are telling me the same things that CEOs of 300-person agencies are telling me. And so I think it's this strange moment in history where everyone has got sort of the same challenge, and the market has not yet evolved into small agencies are dealing with this challenge and big agencies are dealing with that challenge. We're just not there yet. And so there's a lot of commonality in the challenges that they're having. There's also another commonality, which is everyone feels like they're behind. Everyone feels like they are failing, like they are not doing enough, like they are not, thinking about it the right way. um, and so if it helps your listeners at all to know, I think everybody feels behind, and there are folks who are absolutely not, right? And it doesn't mean by extension that everybody is has got this all figured out and their business is operating in a new way and more efficiently and more profitably, but it does mean that they are probably doing better than they think that they're doing. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And so I think what we at Loop try to do, I mentioned two corners of the world here. One is around consulting. How do we help you think about ways to start implementing AI in reasonable, beneficial ways that are not either shiny object chasing or let's take way too big of a bite off the apple. So that's one side. The other side is that we're in the process now of developing an AI platform for agencies specifically that would, the way I describe it is that it would act as an operating system for an agency, handling what I always refer to as the block and tackle work that's going on at the agency. Um, and what we're trying to do is flip the model of the human needing to remember to grab the AI's help and know which system to use at which moment, how to use that system, how to optimize the prompt for that system, right? There's just a lot that goes into using some of these technologies, and you're asking for a lot of your people to figure all that out. So part of what we're trying to do is flip that narrative so that The AI is actually signaling the human at those, important moments where the human's creativity, strategy, discernment are most important and most critical to the needs of their clients and their
Right.
business.
Well, so I have so many questions for you, and some of them relate to the way you just laid a few things out there. The first is I'm super curious to know. My observation from talking to agency owners all the time in my work every day is that they simultaneously feel, to your point, like they're behind, like everyone else is figuring this out. It's a race. We're behind, we're behind, we're behind, along with the fact that they are, in many cases, dragging their clients kicking and screaming because they are actually farther ahead in their
Yeah.
adaptation to using these tools than the clients are in their own organizations
Mhm.
or are willing to let the agencies be in servicing their work. So I guess so I'm in full agreement with the whole we're behind, sky is falling fear, but I'm curious to know what patterns you're seeing as you talk to agencies and get in there and actually work with them to try to help them operationalize AI. What are sort of the you mentioned you're seeing the same patterns regardless of size of agency. What are some of the most common issues you're seeing agencies grapple with when they try to figure out how to adapt AI in their businesses?
Yeah, great question. And I think one of the first things that comes to mind for me is the sort of scattershot approach and disorganized approach that most agencies have when it comes to the use of AI. Is that almost to a person, the agencies that we're talking to will tell us, we know our people are using AI every day. We know that they are using it in ways that we're not always totally clear on how they're using it. Um, And so a lot of what we try to do when we start an engagement with an agency is to do a survey of the agency to talk about attitudes, usage and tools that are being used. And one of the big not surprises, but one of the big findings is often, yes, a huge percentage of our staff is using these tools, but it's not in a coordinated fashion. It's not in a way that's guided by governance or clear rules from above.
Mhm.
It's really a sort of people are experimenting, people are trying, people are learning, which is super important, right? That's a big part of AI today is like making sure that you're trying the different tools and learning what they can and can't do. But I think from a business owner's perspective, there's this worry that we're leaving the barn door open
Mhm.
and that, man, we just don't know what our folks are doing. We're probably spending money on a whole bunch of tools that may be duplicative. We may be putting information at risk. We just don't know. And so that's definitely a commonality is we're just not exactly sure what folks are doing and how they're doing it.
Well,
Um,
I could speak to that just for a second from risk management point of view. Not only is everything that you just said happening with regularity, but the agency's team members are roguing it. They're using their own personal accounts
yeah.
to do work, which, first of all, limits the business's ability to archive any of the work that's being done or any of the preliminary, basis for the work being done to be archived or captured anyway. And also, they're inputting data or information that's either sensitive to the agency or sensitive to their clients or both into personal accounts that are, the guardrails are completely off in terms of training data contributions and things like that. So
Right.
it's you don't know what your people are using. And so not only are they using it in ways that you can't archive, but you don't know when they're using it or what tools they're using.
Mm,
So I can experience share that that is 100% happening right now.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. One of the other things that we see is, and you sort of mentioned that there are agencies where they're way ahead of their clients. Interestingly, I would also say, though, that there are agencies that either are truthfully or at least believe that they are behind some of their clients. In fact, we just did a survey with a new client, and one of the qualitative answers that was given was, we have clients who are ahead of us in the use of AI, and so we really need to be doing things to get not only caught up, but to get ahead.
Hmm.
And so I think there's that natural feeling that agency folks have, which is we're the experts. We're going to come in and provide you an expertise and a point of view that you don't necessarily have because this isn't what you do all day long. But for me, what I've seen with AI is that it is one of those things that sort of levels the playing field, at least in the near term, because yeah, you've got client organizations that are out there using these tools just the same way that agencies are.
Hmm.
And in some ways, actually, there was just a really fascinating story about chief marketing officer, I think from Palmolive, maybe, who was, there was a big article on how he was involved in a meeting with his agency, and the agency was trying to show them some AI work. And the CMO said, actually, no, you're using an out-of-date model. Let me show you how this actually should work. And in that case, the client was saying to the agency, we're ahead of you here. And so I think there's that feeling of, again, right or wrong, that agencies are not where they need to be vis-a-vis their clients. And so
Hmm.
that also creates some insecurity. I actually had a client, one of their clients asked them to do a presentation on the agency's AI capabilities plan roadmap so that they could understand how the agency was using it, how they were upscaling their team. And it sort of put the agency a little bit on their back foot because they're like, oh gosh, we're not really ready to have this conversation. And so
Hmm.
there's this sort of push and pull of wanting to learn, wanting to try, wanting to lead. And the reality of it is that sometimes they're just not there yet.
That's fascinating. So this is an incumbent relationship, and the
Yeah.
incumbent agency was asked by the brand to present on their sort of current suite of AI. Wow. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is relates to one of the questions I definitely want to ask you, which is going to be, about how do agencies self-assess and where do they start and where are the opportunities? But sounds to me like one opportunity is if you had to create a deck tomorrow to show clients about how you're using AI and what your capability levels are, what would be in it? What would it
Yeah.
say? And
Yeah.
would you be satisfied with that? And maybe you'd have a couple different versions of it depending on the
Mhm.
brand you were showing it to, right?
Yeah, definitely. And what's interesting to me, that ties directly into governance in a lot of ways that are related in my mind, right? Is
Mhm.
because one of the other common themes that I see, and this is across all of the verticals that I work with, I do a fair bit of work in healthcare as well, working with marketing teams. And I see a reticence across the board to put something down on paper from a governance perspective. There's a little bit of the let's wait till the right moment to get this down on paper. It's going to change anyway. Why do we need to capture this? There's going to be a new tool tomorrow. Why should we talk about tools here? And I always counsel, my clients and anybody else who will listen, like, it's okay. Like, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good here.
Hmm.
Start somewhere, get something down on paper, share that with your community, whether that's your internal team or your clients or both, just so that there's something there. And yeah, it's going to change in 3 months. That's okay. It's
Hmm.
better than, to your point, from a risk management perspective, leaving the gap of, oh, you know what, we actually just never got around to publishing any rules or guidelines. And so, yeah, we had a data breach that we could have solved pretty simply, but we just were waiting for the perfect moment to do it.
Wow.
So, again, feel comfortable with, yes, understanding this stuff's going to change, but that shouldn't then lead to inaction in waiting for the change to settle, because you and I both know that this change is not going to settle anytime soon.
Yeah, no, and it's a very dynamic and quickly moving target, and you'll never hit it with a bullseye proficiency.
No, you will not. Yeah.
I mean, the technology is just moving too quickly. And so be a realist about it. I always, and I've probably said this a million times, probably half a million on this show alone, but technology leads business, which are all the agency people listening to this, put sneakers on and they run after the technology and adapt to it. And then the law comes up behind with a push broom and cleans up all the mess that everybody. It's just, and
Yeah,
that's always been true of the way technology, business, and the law work, but it's true on steroids with respect to AI adoption,
sure it is.
to my eyes so far.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I
let's,
always say to people, just on that point, I
yeah.
always say to folks, like, to me, AI, what's happening right now in this transformation is actually not really about AI. It's not really about technology. It's really about human change. It's about human anxiety. It's about whether your business is fundamentally in a good spot or not. We always say when we're talking to our clients, AI is not going to solve your business problems. You have to solve your business problems first, and then AI can help you, right? AI
Mhm.
is going to amplify, for better or worse, AI is going to amplify the things about your business that are working and the things that are not working. And so it's not about let's go find the right tech. It's about how do we make sure that we as an organization are organized effectively, we're being led appropriately, that we're thinking strategically about our business challenges and where we're headed, and then let's figure out how to augment all of that and support all of that with technology, whether it's AI or elsewhere. Technology is not going to solve the challenges that are inherent to your business.
So, in the process of going under the hood for the agencies that you've gotten under the hood for with
Yeah.
so far, are you seeing any consistency in the sorts of business or operational gaps that introducing AI has enabled the agency leadership to spot? Is there any patterns that you're noticing that get
Yeah.
sort of what gets unearthed most frequently, I guess, is my question.
Yeah, it's funny that yeah, that's a good analogy is unearthing it. I think what's interesting is that most of the time folks know what the challenges are, right? There's almost never a surprise in the room. Like, oh, I had no idea we were doing X, Y, and Z. We've never talked about that.
Yeah.
Most of the things that come up are things that people know are challenges, and that for one reason or another have never been, have been addressed or solved or whatever. And so it goes to a lot of the things that your audience will recognize. It's around inefficiency of the new business process, right? Like, why are we reinventing the wheel every time we need to do a new proposal? We've been doing proposals for 20 years. Why are we starting every time with a
Yeah.
fresh new deck, or from a billing perspective or a project management perspective? Like, okay, well, if we're running a project this way, how are we billing for our overages? Are we billing for our overages? Are we having hard conversations with our clients about the fact that we're actually doing more work than we anticipated we might need to?
Mhm.
A lot of it comes down to those core things at the agency that are that have always been there, right? And um, how do we address those challenges in a way again that's sort of separate from technology, that solves a human challenge and that ultimately makes the business more solid. Um, so it's all the things that all of your audience are probably sitting there right now thinking like, oh, I bet you they probably run into X, Y, and Z, and the answer will be yes, because it's all
Mhm.
the things that agencies have struggled with for decades.
All right. And so, you know, a problem to solve is always an opportunity in disguise. At least that's the way I like to look at it. And so,
Absolutely.
what are the business opportunities that you're most excited about on behalf of agencies,
Mm.
whether it's an efficiency achieved or whether it's um, doing more than they're able to currently do with the capacity that whatever it might be, what are the biggest um, upside opportunities you are noticing actually boots on ground when you're in agencies so far
Yeah.
with operationalizing AI in their businesses?
I think it's freeing up. The way I look at it is people didn't get into agencies because they wanted to create email at scale. They didn't want to create, banner ads by the thousands, right? They didn't want to make sure that they were, clocking every 15-minute block of their day to ensure that they were billing appropriately, right? That's not why
Mhm.
anybody got into agency life. They got into it for the sake of creativity and strategy and I hate to say the word out loud, but fun. Can you imagine like actually having fun
Right?
doing cool stuff with your clients, like
Yeah.
exploring big ideas, exploring creativity, all the reasons that people get into this business for has kind of, in my opinion, gotten lost
Mhm.
amidst the like, hey, we've got a market at scale. So that means we've got human beings who are doing repetitive stuff that frankly they're not very good at, that the AI is very good at. And so let's let the technology, just like we would with any technology, but let's let the technology do what it's best at. And ideally, what that does is free up the human beings to do more of what they got into this for in the first place, right? Which is if you're not spending that time writing 1,000 or copy pasting 1,000 marketing emails to add to your CRM nurture sequence, then you might actually be able to reach out and have a conversation with your client and see how things are going. How's your business, how are things proceeding? What's the competitive landscape looking like where you are? Anything we can help you with? What did you think about our last campaign? Were you happy with it? Were you not? There's just so much of that human connection that I think is made possible um, through the use of AI in a structured way. And going back to the platform that I talked about before, that's the goal is right. Let's structure this in a way that takes some of that block and tackle, some of that repetitive burden off of people, and then says, you know what, this is a moment when we need that super creative person to come in and give us a great idea
Mhm.
because the market has shifted and our client is losing market share and we need to do something significant here. And most of the time that person's buried in busy work. And my hope is that folks will less and less be buried in busy work so they can really focus on creativity, strategy, empathy, communication, etc.
I think a few hundred agency leaders listening to this probably just felt seen and heard when they listened to you say that, because I feel like one of the biggest fears that agency professionals are experiencing right now is that that part of the work is going to get steamrolled over by the
Yep,
tech.
yep,
And also, I feel like they're not only worried about that, but they're worried about whether clients are actually going to be expecting um, more productivity for less money, which is going to make their business models at the agencies less sustainable. I think there's so many issues they're worried about that they are not focusing on the potential upside of being liberated from, frankly, the what we call the drudgery part of the days of the average
exactly.
agency employee,
Yep,
and on to the inspiration that is
yep,
part of the magic of why I love having a front row seat to the agency industry. I mean,
absolutely.
I'm very intentional about loving to serve agencies in my day job because I love having a front row seat to the creativity, the innovation, all of it.
Yeah,
And to the extent we're creating more opportunity for humans to engage in that work, um, I think we need to seize that. We just have to push through, I think, the the very realistic fear that, from an operational and a financial perspective, that the agency leader is experiencing right now while they're trying to figure out how to implement this. Which leads me to
yeah.
my next question.
Before we leave that, Sharon, or can I
Go
just talk
for it.
about two things about what you just said? Because I think there's a
Yeah,
couple of really important things. You asked about trends that I'm seeing as we're talking with agencies on the ground.
yeah.
One thing that we have not heard is agencies being asked to reduce their fees as a result of using AI. That has not yet come up. I mean, is it out in the ether? Yes. But
Mhm.
have we actually talked to a client who said, yeah, we had one of our clients come and ask us for reduced fees because they know we're using AI. What I have heard is our agency clients saying we're using AI, so how can we make sure that the work that you're doing is reflecting what we're doing and how we're thinking about it and things like that. So there's that intersection. But the idea of like, hey, you're doing this more quickly, which means you should charge us less, has not yet come up. In part because I think maybe I'm being idealistic, but it's because you're getting more value for those hours and those dollars.
Mhm.
That as a client, your agency is being more creative, is being more strategic. And so the value of that hour, if you choose to bill that way, is greater. So that's a really big I think message that I want folks to hear is that that is not yet happening, at least as far as I've heard, and I'm sure
That's
that.
good to know. I mean, I think that was also reflected in the research that Agency Management Institute had put out, I think towards
Yeah,
the end of last year around client expectations from agencies around AI. And that was consistent with what you just said, which is that they're not seeing a lot of cost or rate reduction expectations.
yeah.
I mean, clients want to spend less for other reasons, but
Right, right,
not
exactly. Yeah,
not necessarily focused on the technology. So Matt, I'm
yeah.
wondering, what are some of the low-hanging fruit opportunities that any agency leader listening to this um, could be thinking about in terms of determining how AI better fits into their operations? I mean, where should they start looking for
Mhm.
the opportunities first? Because I think an agency at any scale has them, right? There's
Yep,
and
totally.
and so where are some places that you would tell them to start looking in their businesses first to start thinking about how to operationalize this in their business?
Yeah. The first thing that I would say is going back to what I mentioned a few minutes ago is in governance, right? I think there is a rightful interest in trying different tools and, staying on top of where this is all going. And I think agencies necessarily need to be in that sort of experimentation place. But I think it's incumbent upon the leadership to say, yes, we want to encourage exploration and learning and trying, but we want to do that within some guardrails, right? And so I think is like maybe non-sexy as that is, like starting with helping people understand how the organization is comfortable with this being used and not being used, I think is a really important place to start.
Hmm.
Because I think to the point you made a little bit ago, the risk is not insignificant. And no agency wants to have a client come to them and say, "Hey, we just learned that data that we shared with you ended up in some, LLM data breach, and how in the world did that happen?" And then you're in
Hmm.
real trouble. And I don't want to be a boogeyman about this, but there are realities of making sure that you know what's happening in your organization.
Hmm.
But from a more, from a sort of where can you start more tangibly side, I would say I've seen a pretty significant shift on the creative side of the house in agencies,
Hmm.
where maybe 6 to 12 months ago, you had a lot of creatives who were, I think, inherently dubious and worried and in some cases angry and frustrated about AI being in the
Right.
midst of their work and taking over their work and taking their creativity from them. I've seen a shift where now creative units are increasingly using AI in pretty dedicated ways, that allows them to benefit from the technology. So, for example, just had a client discussion recently where they said they're no longer sourcing any stock photography because they're using AI to generate all the photography they need for very specific purposes. And in some cases, it's as, down to the point of we have a client who wants to have a different ad campaign for every season of the year. So we need to change out the background so the trees have orange leaves one time and green leaves the next time.
Hmm.
That some of that stuff is becoming a real tool that's helping the creative folks get around some of those things that we at agencies have always wrestled with, which is like, oh yeah, where do we get a cool photo that's actually going to match the need, that kind of a thing.
Hmm.
The other major area for me is around data. Is that this has, I think, become a bit of a sort of an expected line in AI, but if your data house is not in order, you will not really be able to benefit from AI.
Hmm.
You have to understand where your data is living, how your data is being housed, how your data is talking to itself and to each other. Without that real focus and structure, you're going to really only be able to benefit in very sort of small and incremental ways that aren't going to have a significant impact, big picture on your business. So there's creativity, there's design, there's data, there's strategy. I don't think enough folks are using these tools to help them in their strategic thinking and engaging them as a thought partner. I think a lot of folks still use LLMs like their Google. Like I'm going to sit down and enter a prompt, and then
Yeah.
whatever I get back is what I get. And I would just encourage folks that if you haven't already, is start having a conversation with your LLM, start guiding it, start telling it what you like and what you don't like. And you're going to get some really good strategic guidance out of it over time.
Well, I can testify that anybody who's listening and is engaging with their professional advisors by sending them work product generated out of one of the LLMs, um, your best bang for buck, if you will. This is presuming you're paying for, for the service that you're using and not just using the free one, is using it as a thinking partner.
Mhm.
Um, it- the work product that gets sent to our firm that's been generated out of any of the LLMs, I can confidently say is not saving our clients so far any time or money, because
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
quality is just poor. And that is because, I mean, we're all experimenting, right? That is because the best use so far of these tools is not, hey, um, generate a contract for me that, says A, B, C. Its inputs in are going to impact the quality. But
Yeah. For
using
sure.
it as a conversation tool or a thought-provoking tool to say,
Mhm.
hey, we were presented with this agreement. What questions should we be asking either
Mhm.
them or our lawyer, or what issues should we be thinking about, or what are the common points of contention? That's just an example, but
Yep.
I think it's understanding how to best engage with the tools is
Definitely.
just as important, maybe as the specific use case itself is, because every use case has a different prompting strategy that is most
Yeah.
productive based on what I'm seeing so far.
Yeah, totally. And the other piece that in you referenced it a moment ago is, and we all know this, but how quickly this is all moving. The interaction that you had with any of these technologies 6 months ago is going to be different than it will be today,
Yeah,
right? I mean, we do a fair bit of vibe coding for the lack of a better term,
yeah.
where you're using some of these tools like Replit or Lovable, and you are trying to build things or having the system build things for you in a more conversational way. The capabilities for those technologies today versus even 6 months ago is not night and day, but it's pretty close.
Yeah,
And that's the other, you talked about sort of low hanging fruit. That's another thing that I would say is try these vibe coding tools out. For people who are trying to get from like, I have an idea to I have a thing, it's never been easier to go from I have an idea to I have a thing. And we're prototyping things in Replit all the time. Increasingly, Claude Cowork and the ChatGPT tools like Codex, which requires a little more coding capability. But these tools allow people to go very quickly to sort of proof of concept. And
hmm.
so I would say for people who are creative and who are looking for ways to put things in front of their clients that are exciting or eye-opening, man, give those tools a try. They are unbelievably powerful.
So that's a great segue into what I like to call my crystal ball question.
Mm.
Ask some guests on the show, not all, but some.
Uh-oh.
So 12 months from now, what do you think the biggest differences will be in terms of the way agencies are operationalizing AI in their businesses between the way they're using it now and the way they are going to be using it 12 to 18 months from now, with regularity? What do you think?
I think the word that you used to ask the question is the right word, which is operationalize. I think right now, almost no one is really operationalizing AI usage, and I think that is the direction in the trend, which is how do we actually start to put this in as infrastructure, right? That it's not just a cool tool that we're giving a try to, and wow, didn't we make this neat advertisement out of this thing? It's how do we use these technologies to fundamentally help us reshape and rethink about our business?
Hmm.
And I think 12 months from now, you're going to have agencies that are running entirely on AI. There already are, but I mean at more at scale than they currently are.
Hmm.
Um, I think part of that will be, fewer people working in some of these jobs. I think that's the reality. We all just saw what happened last week with Jack Dorsey and his company, laying off 40% of the folks that, directly related to AI. So I
Yeah.
think there will be a shifting of how agencies are structured, how they're staffed, and certainly how they run. And so I would say, I would just suggest to folks, like, think about what you want your agency to look like 12 months from now. How do you want to bill? What do you want to be known for? What is it about you, what you've done in the past that you think is important to carry forward with you? And what about the past is okay to be left behind? And think differently about what you do and how you do it. Because at least from my perspective, there's never been a better time to really rethink this model and understand or figure out ways that it can be better in service of certainly agencies' clients, but really importantly in service of agencies themselves.
Well, I think that's a terrific mic drop. I've got I've got do do you think this scenario is possible for any of the agencies listening? It's a year or 18 months from today when you and I are talking early in 2026, and you've kept every human in your agency that works for you today. They may be doing different jobs and different things, but
Yep.
you've kept every single human, but you've doubled your revenue or
Mhm.
ideally your profitability
Yep.
by using AI operationally in your business without any more human capital costs than you're experiencing today, day one.
I think if that isn't happening, something isn't working right. I think that is the goal. And to all of the CEOs that I talk to, they're clear about the fact that they're not doing this to cut staff, right? They're doing this in order to be more efficient, to be more profitable, to be more focused on the things that move the needle for themselves and their clients. And so I think the idea of 12 to 18 months from now, you should expect to be twice as profitable with the same number of people because that's what these technologies are good at. They're good at efficiency. They're good at creating time. They're good at creating opportunity. So absolutely.
So when I think of that, and when I think of the level of fear with which a lot of agency leaders might be operating today because of the change that this is making in their business, I guess I'd sort of ask you all to consider the possibility that um, you could take your business as it exists today and explode it without disrupting the livelihoods of the people who depend on you,
Yeah.
or disrupting your financial standing as the owner who's got, their neck stretched out there every single day running this
Yep.
business, trying to turn a
Yep.
profit. I think if we spent as much time thinking about that
Yeah.
possibility as we did about what we perceive as the drudgery of going through this transformation,
Yeah.
um, it might be a more enriching way to move the needle in our agencies, right?
Yeah. That's a good mic drop moment right there, Sharon. I mean, come on, you're doing it too.
I'm here
I
all week. I'm here all week, Matt.
we tip your waitresses. But it's interesting that actually brings up for me another thing, whether it's a trend or something that I would suggest is agency leaders and owners need to be thinking about this is not going to be a quick fix,
Hmm.
right? You're talking about a fundamental reshaping of your business and how you operate and how things get done, and even how you think about how things get done. One of the things that I do see from folks is, man, we just want this thing to be done in 3 months. It's not realistic, right? I mean, I think there are things that can be done in 3 months, But what you're talking about is a structural change, a philosophical change. And I think it will take both more time and money and energy than you think it will. But I do think on the other side of that, the promise is that you're getting more for for the work that you're doing than you are today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, humans don't like change, and humans are also wired to avoid discomfort. And
Yeah.
those are two things you simply cannot get around in today's business environment,
Nope.
in general, and definitely in the agency world right now, in my view. So,
Agreed.
this has been such a fascinating conversation, for me. I learn a ton every time I talk to you, but now everybody listening gets a chance to learn as well from the work that you're doing. And so, to that end, where can people find out more about the work that Loop is doing
Yeah.
and about you and your background and all that good stuff?
Yeah. Thank you. It's been great to be here and have this conversation. I always enjoy my shared conversations.
You're the only
So
guest that's ever said that. I am gonna keep this recording in my diary forever.
that's going to be the one clip that ends up on
That's
LinkedIn. I
right. I'm
know
gonna
it,
make a
Sharon.
social media teaser out of it. Yeah.
LinkedIn is definitely a place that I spend a lot of my time. I publish a weekly newsletter that sort of breaks down the previous week's sort of top 10-ish AI related stories and with a little bit of context. I try to do quite a lot of writing and blogging about the trends that are going on. So all of that can be found on LinkedIn. Happy to connect with anybody and everybody on LinkedIn. Our website is loopagency.ai. That's maybe not quite as up to date necessarily as my LinkedIn profile, but you can still learn a lot there. But yeah, reach out on LinkedIn. Happy to connect, and if you ever want to chat about some first steps you can take about into this journey, obviously happy to grab some time and chat. So yeah, thanks for the chance to talk today.
Yeah, awesome. It was a great conversation. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, everybody else, for joining us today. And we will see you or talk to you on the next episode. And until then, everybody stay well. Take care.